It's been a long time, but the salon will start right now. Ahoy, hoy, friends, and welcome to the salon. I'm right on top of that to less. If you get the reference, we can be friends. Get excited. We finally made it. That's right, season 4 of Star Trek Enterprise. There have been some gems in the first 3 seasons, but we have done the work. We now get our dessert. We get to the best season of the show, in my opinion. Very excited to talk about season 4 tonight. But before I do, we of course need to beg, plead, and remind folks of all of the podcast things. Please do like and subscribe us on YouTube, on Twitter, on Bluesky. You can support us on Patreon. You can buy some merch. There's a link at our website, salontrek.com. And again, anywhere and everywhere you find your podcasts, YouTube, etc., please follow us at Salon Trek. Comment, leave a review, share with your friends. It helps us out tremendously. And that's it for the podcasty things. But we are going to talk about a little bit of Star Trek news and then get into the topic of the day. But to talk about the news, I got to bring in my crew. Now, this is still Star Trek Enterprise, so we are going to keep it to just 4 white men. I swear to God, that has not been intentional, but it's continuing for the next week and a half. And then we will finally add some melanin back in and add in some estrogen back in. So if you're sick of mediocre white men, girl, same. But in 2 weeks, you'll get a little extra flavor. But before we do, here's Ken. Ken, how are you? Welcome back.
Oh, thank you. Proud to be one of the mediocre white men. Thanks for the introduction. I'm
always
glad
a
to
pleasure.
Be back.
Speaking of being glad, Will, how are you?
Not glad, but I'm good.
Speaking of, here's Trevor. And he froze at the perfect time.
No, that's all you're getting. That's all you get. That actually wasn't even free. Like, that's just my face. That's just my face.
Yes,
wow. Hello, Ben.
Benji. And hello in the chat. I see Lieutenant DT. I see Benji. I saw a couple of others. We have Jen coming to us live. Nope, coming to us from 12 hours ago in the UK because it's now 2:30 a.m. there. But thank you for joining us early, and I hope you enjoyed the replay. Y'all, we got a little bit of Star Trek news today. Strange New World Season 3 has kind of a release date. It will be at the Tribeca Film Festival, June 14th. When us peasants who actually pay for Paramount Plus will get to see it, who's to say? Paramount Plus is, but they haven't yet. One would assume June, but what do y'all think?
I think it's cool that it's showing up at a film festival. Tribeca is a great film festival. I think it continues to keep Star Trek kind of on the map. It's a bit of a coup for Paramount Plus. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting to see because, it's part 2, right? Because it was a cliffhanger. So now I guess they're going to will they show the finale and the premiere? I don't know what they're going to do, but it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, it's interesting that it's premiering at a film festival. But yeah, now it's like, when are we going to get it? But hopefully that means that it's going to be soon after. Like it'll premiere and then probably maybe a month. So maybe I would say probably the earliest, probably July. But that early August date sounds even better than it was before because it'll probably premiere at STLV. Seems to be the lining. Everything's leading to that, it feels like. But it's nice that we finally get a date. They're so bad about giving us a date, like telling us when stuff's premiering. Like they're so fucking cagey about it. Like it doesn't make any sense to me. It's like you tell us when it's premiering, but they're always like maybe, and then it kind of comes out of nowhere like a surprise. It's like, Mama, you're not Beyonce. You can't just drop something. Like
it makes it seem like it's just not ready. Like otherwise they would tell us.
Maybe.
It
STLV is
probably-
not an official Paramount thing. It's more likely that it might premiere at a actually it'll probably premiere at Comic-Con in July, which is more official. But they also have a big cast roundtable I read too, which will be fun.
Yeah.
Trevor, any thoughts?
I don't like any of these dates. Just as a person who co-hosts a show that talks about these episodes, Comic-Con, please don't drop it in the middle of STLV. Please, and also, why not just tell us? Like, I'm sure there's a business reason why they're not telling us this information, but like, does it really fucking matter if we know that it's August 6th or if it's July 4th? Like, who cares? Why?
Yeah.
But I'm excited. Like, I don't
Yes.
need to be negative. I'm sounding very negative because I'm a grumpy old man. But I'm truly excited because I really, really enjoyed this show and I'm looking forward to it. But at the same time, powers that be, just tell us when it's fucking starting.
Yeah.
Right.
Some of us have podcasts to plan, damn it.
I mean, you know.
But yeah,
And
it is
also-
really cool that it's going to be at Tribeca. That is super cool. It's just a little weird that they wouldn't be like it's just such a niche thing. Like, hey, this is premiering at this really cool thing, to announce that to the general public.
Yeah.
But not, and also here's when the rest of you peasants can see it. Like it.
Yeah.
There's just a weird divide, and maybe I'm just going very 2025 class warfare with it, but like it would have been really cool to be like, hey, this cool thing is happening, and the next week or 2 weeks later on Paramount Plus or whatever, like announce them both at the same time. Well, that's the news. Let's talk about Star Trek we have seen. We are talking about Star Trek Enterprise season 4, my favorite season of the show. Like I said, we ate our vegetables. Now we get the dessert. But before we really dive in, we simply must set an intention.
This is obvious, but don't forget to set an intention when you light it, or you're just going to be wasting the wax.
Indeed, we must. So to set an intention tonight, I thought it would be super fun if we got rid of Jonathan Archer one more time.
Please.
It's just my new brand. So with that, I'd like to go around the room and find out from each of you who you think would have made a better lover for Captain Hernandez than Jonathan Archer. They just didn't feel like a good couple to me, so I'd like to shake it up and find her someone else on the crew. As always, I will start us off by saying that I think the entire season would have been more interesting, and the show retroactively, if Erica Hernandez was in a relationship with Hoshi Sato. I think it would have given... It was lesbian. Is there a lesbian alert? We don't have one of those. I think it would have given...
Call me out.
First of all, it would have given a lot more context and interest and insight into Hoshi. But also, it would have led to perhaps some interesting use of language, because I don't know that Erica Hernandez speaks Spanish, but I can potentially intuit from her last name that she does, and we could have gotten Spanish in Star Trek way before we had to wait till like the 12th iteration of Star Trek before it was actually spoken on the show. So that would have been cool. And anywho, I think that would have been a fun couple and a fun pairing. And now I want to find out who you think would be a fun couple and a fun pairing. Start us off with William, my dear. Who's getting it on with Erica?
I also was thinking Hoshi, but I was also thinking Mayweather would be interesting too. Again, anyone else. Like, I just don't think that like the character of Archer is like worth giving him a romantic relationship, because I just don't think it's like I stopped trying. Like, it doesn't work. Like, I don't know. It's such a weird, like, that relationship's so weird too. But yeah, no, anyone. But maybe like Mayweather, throw a bone to him. I don't know.
All right. I'm a little frustrated with the canonization of his heterosexuality, but that's fine.
I didn't say he was heterosexual.
Oh, all right, I'll allow it. Ken, my dear.
Oh, first I want to say, Walter trying to pop into the show is awesome
I
over
know.
there. And I was also thinking Hoshi Sato, but with Hoshi Sato already chosen, I'm going to go with T'Pol. I think that would be a very interesting situation. We have not really explored in detail Vulcan sexuality, except for the fact that they seem to like humans. But that would be fun. Send T'Pol's really feisty. T'Pol, as I have watched these episodes, some of them again, she's growing on me. T'Pol, she's just, Jolene does a great job, and it would be fun.
She had a little tryst before joining Enterprise in one of her late night walks into
exactly
the mission.
Exactly.
I like it. I went a different route. I went with Trip because I think it would be interesting. Like, absolutely no cattiness between her and T'Pol. Very, very much not that, but could have an interesting moment between them, and then him ending up, spoiler alert for next week, serving on Columbia for a little bit could have added an interesting layer of tension there. But we'll get into it when we get to home, etc. But I actually don't mind this happening with Archer. I mean, we're at season 4, so giving him some character development is good. Now's the time. So finding out that he had a lover and she's going to be like, it's a little small universe, which is something that happens a lot in Trek. Like, oh, the son of the developer gets to be the captain of the first one, and she earns it outright, but it's a little weird that the captain of the NX-02 happens to be an ex-girlfriend of the captain of the NX-01. But I'm okay with it because I like her. And retconning that shitty line from the very last episode of the original series from a hysterical woman, trope on trope, saying that women could not be starship captains. Like, crazy women can't be starship captains, Janice.
I'll also add,
that is an Oscar alert from me.
Oh, look at you.
Congrats to me.
Also, she wasn't, no disrespect to people in clerical fields in Starfleet, but she wasn't like a random yeoman.
Yeah.
And I sort of forgot about this sort of like foreshadowing in a weird sort of way. Pike and Captain What's-Her-Face.
Yes, the
Melanie.
So memorable, none of you can remember.
I keep wanting to say Bentine, and like, no, that's Leah Brahms.
Yeah, when she wasn't Leah Brahms.
It's Melanie Scarfano, Captain whatever of the Cayuga. No.
Nope. We're just making stuff up. But yeah, that captain lady that hooks up with Pike.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Her.
Ladies and gentlemen, her.
No one in the comments? No one?
Captain Lady.
If only all of human knowledge were at our fingertips.
I'm not sure. I'm blanking on what you guys are talking about. I'm thinking of Pike and only Orion slave girls for some reason.
Ooh.
Because don't think of Pike in the series in which he's had 20 episodes. Think about the pilot that didn't air until the late 70s.
Damn right. Now you got it.
Kenny. Have fun.
Captain Battelle.
I knew it was a B.
Yeah.
The one who's being all gorned up right now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
In theory.
Thank you, Benji. And thank you, Trevor. Captain Battelle. All right, y'all. The intentions are set. It is time to get into it. It is time to talk about Star Trek Enterprise season 4. And oh, whoops, ooh, awkward. I put in a photo from today. So sorry. That's the Trump White House. So, whoops. Okay, yeah, we'll get there. Okay, cool. Let's start though with our top. I will kick us off. I love this season. It's super fun. It feels very classic Trek. There's plenty of like little moments where I'm like, that's a little weird. I wish they didn't do that. I wish there was more for Travis and Hoshi, especially. They get some good stuff in the last episode we'll be talking about tonight. But it would have been lovely if they had more sprinkled in throughout the first bit. But we're getting actual character development in this season. We're getting less sexism. We're getting less white saviorism, a little less, at least. And there's a lot of compelling stories in this season that I was excited to rewatch and have been really enjoying. We get some good performances from people who haven't given us great performances in previous seasons. And Jolene continues to shine. Her and John Billingsley, again, like they're just dancing, acting circles around everybody else, mainly because they're given the material that allows them to do that. And other characters don't always. But it's lovely. We get a differentiation between Trip and Archer. Like, so it's less both angry white men for some reason. Archer's less angry a little bit. It really feels like the course correction they needed 2 seasons earlier. And I really enjoyed it. Can't wait to talk about it. Ken, what are your top thoughts on the first half of this season?
Well, so I agree with a lot of what you're saying. It's interesting that they brought in some new behind the scenes people who were very, very TOS oriented, with Judith and Garfield Reeves Stevens, who's written some of the best fiction, Star Trek fiction, by themselves, and also with William Shatner. And Manny Cotto came in, and he unfortunately died too young, but he came in and did a great sort of reboot in some respects. And the other thing that I think is interesting, as you were talking, Stan, I was thinking, the model that they did here, where they had 3-parters and 2-parters and things like that, and really, if you think about it, sort of the newer Trek, the Paramount Plus Trek, sort of has followed in the way that this season has presented, in the way of mini arcs and story arcs, and they really sort of looked at Enterprise, at least the production schedule of Enterprise, the 3-parters, the 2-parters, the 3-parters, and carried that through. I don't think there was not any other Star Trek. I mean, we know with Deep Space Nine had these long arcs, but these short arcs, sort of Enterprise started that, and I think that the new Trek has sort of picked up the ball with that and has modeled Enterprise season 4 a bit. But I agree with you. It was all these characters, I think they start to come of their own. As a TOS person, I really love to see a lot of the TOS tie-ins that we'll get to, and they did TOS tie-ins better than some of the new Trek has done. I'll just leave it there.
Guessing me now. Yeah, this is at least now interesting. Like, they're doing things that they're taking the premise of it being a prequel and playing with it. So we're getting stuff with augments. We're getting things that are like interesting stories that they're touching on, and like you can tell that like the sad thing is, I think if they would have had a 5th season, I think that this probably would have ended. The latter half of this show probably would have been really something to kind of not behold, but something that would have really left this to not be such an obscure end of Star Trek like Enterprise. it's just so, you mention people go, oh, I have no idea what we're talking about. It comes at such a weird point that I think that this show is this season in particular, you can tell that Manny Cotto, the people who are now in charge, is not Rick Berman and Braga, that they're going, okay, how do we play with the stuff we're given? Like you can see that they're putting in the characters in interesting stuff. Yes, fuck Rick Berman, and like they're getting as close as they can to the original series without actually getting to it, which I think Strange New Worlds is kind of is kind of like going they're very very deliberately moving towards the original series. Like they're moving very deliberately towards it. Well, this one is kind of going, look at the world we're building around this. It's very interesting, and it gives a lot of texture to aliens that we don't see very often, or we don't see regular characters of, or we like even the Vulcans. Like I think they've come off more interesting in this season. And like even the humans are more interesting. Like you see that there's progression. They're not immediately where they were in TNG. So there's a lot of really good stuff. I do hate that the show is lit like a high school theater production of The Crucible. Like the lighting on this half of the season is fucking shit. And I don't know if that's and lighting's very expensive. And it's very time consuming, so I can see why, but it looks like they lit this entire first half of the season by fluorescent tube lighting, and it's upsetting considering that the last season the show has had great lighting before that, but now it's like, it looks like a high school theater production.
It's somehow brighter than season 3, yet many more shadows.
It's flat. It's a flat light. It's fluorescent lighting. No one looks good, and it's like, there's shadows because they haven't taken the time to light these sets and these scenes properly, and that's probably because of the budget constraint. But I think on the whole, this is the strongest writing of the series, and it's far more interesting. But I'm still not loving it. Trev.
Yeah, it's it touches on a lot of things that the leaning into sort of the original series in terms of the mythos and the universe made sense. Unfortunately, it still stumbles into things that the original series did wrong, that like it didn't need to repeat. For example, not great lighting. Going all the way from the inception of, let's literally cast the exact same types of character. Like we might move character D to character E's seat on the bridge, but we've basically established the same cast of characters and just shuffled them around a little bit. We created the same, top 3 in terms of storytelling and who the 3 main characters were going to be. It was going to be, the captain, the Vulcan first officer, science officer, and the guy with the Southern accent. So, but like the storytelling aspect was sort of perfect. It was leaning into serialized storytelling, but in the blocks, which work better. Mm-hmm. It was exploring stuff that we'll actually see play out more in the original series, which is really cool. Since it's a prequel too, which is sometimes confusing given when it takes place. But yeah, they still make a couple of interesting fumbles. And also I think one thing that the show has been missing from the beginning is an 8th character. And apparently we were going to get that in season 5. There was talk of bringing Shran on permanently, which don't ask me what role he plays. Not that it's important, but it's just kind of an odd, like, let's just stick this guy in because he's popular. But this is the season 1 that I wanted, and it happens at season 4. And we all knew that it was ending too early. Most people at the time thought 3 was going to be the last one. So when it got a 4th season, we were like, wow, okay, brace for cancellation, because it barely got a 4th season. When it hit the right strides and the right notes with fans, it still felt too late. And so as much as I enjoy a lot of these episodes, there's like a sort of looming air of sadness around them, because I know that even back then as I was watching it, I'm like, okay, enjoy it while it lasts, because it's going to be over. And then Star Trek is over for God knows how long, which is kind of why I get pissed off when people constantly pan on current stuff, because I'm like, you can get that show to go away, but you're also going to make Star Trek go away, and who knows
Yep.
for how long. So be critical, but stop being this is the end of the universe, and because you could fuck things up for everybody. Anyway, end of story. Those are my top thoughts.
Yes. All right, y'all. Time to really get into it. We are going to go into our thumb war now. And as a reminder, what we typically do, we will have a synopsis read by our co-host Trevor. These are synopses that he did not write. Sometimes they are good, sometimes they're bad, or a mix in between. And as we've mentioned, this season has several mini sods, so we will be combining them, as you will see in a moment. So let's start this thumb war.
Season 4, episodes 1 and 2, Stormfront 1 and 2. Archer. Oh, see, Google's already messing with me. Instead of Archer Awakens, it says Archer Awakes. Archer awakens from destroying the Xindi superweapon to find himself back on Earth in the past, fighting alien Nazis. Sort of. T'Pol and the Enterprise must defeat the aliens and restore the timeline in order to return to their time. That's the summary for part 1. The summary for part 2. Archer and the crew must destroy a time machine to stop aliens from obliterating countless eras. Alien leader Vosk releases prisoners, forcing Suliban agent Silik to emerge from the shadows. Dun, dun, dun.
Oh, I hit the wrong button.
We lost
Did you-
Ken.
Did you eject Ken?
Oh.
That was not nice.
Oh, he ejected
I'm
Ken.
back.
Uh,
Ejector seat.
Oh my
Your
God.
Now he's
jar.
in my chair. Move. Oh, there we go.
Stormfront 1 and 2. We mentioned this last week, like timey shenanigans. I'm kind of sick of it. The way that they execute it, whatever. What happened to that aquatic ship? Like, there was no visual whatever. There are a lot of things that just don't make sense about this episode, and like the ending doesn't make sense to then wipe everything away, because they even say in one of these episodes that the actual changing event was different. But if we get rid of Vosk, that changing event will be different. But how? Like, it just timey-wimey nonsense, unnecessary. These are probably some of my least favorite episodes of this season that I do enjoy overall. And I like alternate history. I do think is interesting. Like, I love For All Mankind. I think Man in the High Castle was an excellent view on this specific topic, minus the aliens. But yet Nazis in Trek, I'm not a fan. Also, they kept saying the Germans in a way that when they were actually referencing the Nazis specifically, and I felt that was a little weird. Like, they were one and the same in some ways, in a moment and during the war, but in these episodes specifically, the way that they were referenced, they should have said Nazis. They should have made it very clear that it was the problem was the Nazis and not Germans generally. I think that distinction was important and missing. End of rant. I don't love these episodes, but there's some cool stuff in them, but whatever. Will,
these are just like bad. Like, watching them again, it's so like it's funny how exhausted the crew is, because they're just like, fuck, not this again, because they just were, dealt with all the Xindi and that super high stress, and then going right into this next thing is really funny, because as an audience I felt that too, and I don't know if it was intentional. Like, I think it's just circumstantial. Like, I don't know if that was necessarily what the writers were going for, but these two episodes are just listless and directionless and lack any sort of creativity. And are really there just to necessitate the end of this temporal Cold War thing, which was it first some of the most interesting stuff about the series. Like they could have done so much with it, and it was just, oh, here's this random gray alien with red eyes that you've never met, you've never seen. Here's his deal. And then you're like, okay, let's kill all the people off. Let's end all of this shit so we just don't have to deal with this anymore. Which I get. Like, it's very Discovery season 2. Like, it's very like, get this shit over with and move on. But like, at least make it good. Like, it just sucked. I just didn't find myself enjoying these episodes, and I found myself like literally playing like Candy Crush on my phone through most of them because it was just they're a slog to get through. It's a 2-parter episode. It felt like it was maybe 3 or 4. Like, it's just sucked. I did not enjoy them.
Yeah, it's
Ken
funny.
Darling.
Oh, sorry.
Go, Trev, go.
No, I was just gonna say it's funny because these are 2 from season 4. There's 1 or 2 others, but these are 2 that I like to pretend didn't happen.
Yeah,
Like, there's
yeah.
they're not good on a rewatch. I remember when it first came out, I was like, oh, how are they gonna solve the cliffhanger? And then I'm like, they needed 2 episodes to solve the cliffhanger. Also, why are we doing the holodeck episode on Voyager again? Like it.
Yeah, we've seen
what
this. Yeah.
What is Star Trek's
really-
obsession with revisiting Nazi Germany? Like, it's a little weird.
I think they had the costumes and they were like, well, this will save a few $1,000s.
I'm surprised
Yeah.
they didn't shoot it on the same backlot that they shot, the Universal backlot where they shot the Voyager episodes.
The Good Place.
Yeah.
The good, yeah. In the middle of
Literally.
downtown Good Place / also Irish Village where Janeway met her lover. Anyway, I could ramble on and on about why I don't like them, but that's silly. I'll stop.
Well, sorry, Ken, your thoughts on these episodes?
Yeah, I mean, I tend to agree with everyone. You know, the tendency to try to do time travel in Star Trek, because some of the best Star Trek has been time travels. They don't live forever. Star Trek 4: The Voyage Home. There's these concepts that, you know, time travel is going to be wonderful for Star Trek, and it just is not. It's not. It's just way overdone. Plus, you know, there's some elements here of, you know, tomorrow is yesterday. The still you have there of the plane and the Enterprise is very similar to that idea of tomorrow is yesterday with the Air Force jet. Of course, Patterns of Force is the Nazi episode. Now, what's interesting about that episode, of course, is that was done 20 years after World War II ended, right? So that is a very interesting approach to Nazis in Star Trek, and they should have left it at that and not touch Nazis again. And I agree with you. Why do it in 2 parts? It's almost like they were trying to mark time because maybe they just didn't have their real scripts together ready for the 4th season. I don't know. But yes, these 2 episodes, in my mind, can easily sort of be ejected and just let's start the season with Home. So
yeah.
All right, it's time for those thumbs. Stormfront 1 and 2. Bloop. So thumbs down all around.
Chop, mama. Chop.
Season 3 or season no, not season 3. Cut.
Mm-hmm.
Take 2. Season 4, episode 3, Home. The Enterprise crew receives a hero's welcome after returning to Earth following their year-long mission in the Delphic Expanse. Back on home turf, they take stock in different ways. What? That last sentence makes no sense. Thanks, Google.
it was time for inventory. Clearly,
It's nice that they don't ruin the episodes with the synopsis, but like that one was like, give us nothing.
It should have something to do with the fact that the episode, took place.
I love this episode. I like it. It wasn't quite family after Best of Both Worlds level introspection, but we get character development for T'Pol and Trip, for Archer. We get to meet the captain of the Columbia. Very interesting character, and like Archer sort of clawing back his morality and finally coming to terms with things he did in The Expanse. I don't think they really hit the mark with it, but they at least tried, and they at least mentioned like, oh yeah, we stranded some people. Oh yeah, I tortured somebody. Like he's at least admitting the shitty things that he did. The relationship with Hernandez I thought was interesting. I don't think it was necessary, but again, we're in season 4, so they might as well finally get some character development for the lead of the show, because he's had very little. The more I like, as I was watching this episode, I was like, oh, we literally don't know much about Archer other than he is an asshole and his dad. Like every episode, he's a dick to somebody, and he mentions his father built the Warp 5 engine. And that's it. So getting this kind of development was cool. Seeing Rose from Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead come into the franchise as T'Pol's mother, who I did not recognize until just a few years ago. I love it, which is why the salon was named after her today. Love it. And I loved their interaction. And I'm glad that we get to see more of her later on. I really enjoyed this episode, actually grappling with what they've all been through. It's really lovely to see. Trevor, what were your thoughts?
I just have to highlight that I love that your first connection to Joanna Cassidy is Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead.
I'm right on top of that, Rose.
Just
I say it all the time.
A brief glance at her IMDb, and that is the one that stands out in your memory, is adorable. Like,
well, that hair. I mean, come on.
It's we'll blame Celeste's wig. This episode for me is it feels like it was an intentional sort of reference or callback to family, and that's another episode of Trek that has very little Trek in it. It's just it's pure character development, and I kind of love them both for being so uniquely similar. That is a weird phrase, but they're both standouts in that it's rare that we just get like a break from science fiction to just talk about these characters and spend time with their families. I really enjoy the breath after last season. I enjoy that we at least reflect a little bit on some of the crazy shit that happened in season 3, though it will always bother me that everything just sort of wraps up for Archer on a hiking trip. Like, really? Like, you just went to climb a mountain and now your head's clear and you're good to go? Like, it just feels a little too quick and easy.
He just needed the kiss of a good woman.
I guess. And, he stole, Hoshi's woman. Anyway, the episode's delightful. I really enjoy it, even though I'm not a huge T'Pol and Trip shipper. I enjoy him going along with her. I enjoy their storyline in this episode. In terms of Joanna Cassidy, she is an absolutely delightful human being, just as a person. That, like, step apart from all of the characters that she's played. And then, sort of full disclosure, as I rave about her, she is the friend of a friend, so I've gotten to spend a little bit of time with her. And if she's ever at a convention, if you see her at a table and you're not sure what to say or how to approach, don't worry about it. She's a delightful human being and should be engaged at every opportunity, because she's just, despite playing a kind of snarky Vulcan, she's a wonderful human.
And what you say is, I'm right on top of that, Rose.
Among the potential other lines from many other projects. But yes, if you wish to quote Stan's favorite, that would be the one to go to.
So good. Ken, any thoughts on this episode?
Well, first, that's very cool that you have a connection with Joanna Cassidy. My thought goes to Blade Runner when I think about her. I think the episode was good. It was very much like family. I mean, having Archer climb a mountain seems to almost be like a throwback to Star Trek V and Kirk climbing the mountain. They're trying to find things like that. I I liked the conflict. This episode I did watch recently. I liked the conflict of Archer really getting into it with the Vulcans, right? I thought that was kind of cool. I mean, the Vulcans are just assholes in this show, and so that's just again, he just really nails it. And Archer, we know Archer's a bit of an asshole. The Vulcans are. Everyone says we're surrounded by assholes, just like in Spaceballs. So, so this episode sort of highlights that a little bit. But overall, I think it was interesting. It was very interesting to hit on the xenophobia. Again, I think that's a callback to 9/11 a bit with that. And to see how Dr. Phlox sort of shows off a new power and freaks everybody out. But yeah, there were definitely cool things in this episode. Very different style, very different approach, and very much a throwback to Family. I agree. That's my thoughts.
Yeah, I wish they highlighted I'm glad that they highlighted the refreshed xenophobia. Is it like they're acknowledging there's some natural fear coming after an attack, but not falling into your worst demons. I think they touched on it, but there was more that they could have done, certainly. And it was definitely of the time highlighting how awful people got after 9/11 around anybody who did not look like us on the screen, for example. And that unfortunately continues to today with some folks. Will, your thoughts on Home?
Yeah, I always, every time I watch this, I always, because Joanna Cassidy was in Who Framed Roger Rabbit, so I always think of her from that. So seeing her in this was kind of funny, because I was like, I know this woman, and then like it clicked later. But anyway, yeah, this is another. Again, I said this weeks on weeks now, but this is another time where I felt like they could have gone deeper with what had happened. Like, I feel Family does as much as TNG would let it get to that sort of thing. But I feel like with this show, they could have really gone more into what this all meant to them. Like the unpacking of this and the repercussion of it, and like what this means for, their families and all of this. Like, I feel like it still is not, it's still using kid gloves with this. Like, I feel like Archer's stuff should have been a lot darker. Like, he should have been like, not just dreaming the Xindi were going to kill him, but being like, I'm now on the verge of suicide. Like, it should have been like something where it was like, he can't reconcile this and for what he did now. And it just doesn't go far enough. And I think part of this, Scott Bakula is not a very good actor. I'll say it again. And I do think it's weird that him and Captain Hernandez hook up on that mountain, sweaty and dirty and gross.
Straights.
Nasty. So other than that, I think it's a solid episode. It's nice to see some more stuff from about T'Pol and her family, but in her circumstance. But like, again, I just think it could have gone so much further into it. And I think maybe it's just the actors not taking the material and working it enough, because I don't think it's not any worse. It's not less quality writing than Family, but like, I feel like it's maybe the actors were maybe not given that kind of license, or maybe they were, I don't know, but it feels like there could have been more. They could have done more with it.
Yeah, they could have tied in. There was something with his speech, like at the beginning, and then like there could have been more at the end, where like something like, and now we got to get back to exploration. There are some who say Starfleet invited the Xindi attack because we were out where we shouldn't be too soon, or whatever. Like, better writing than that just was. But like, there was something like, now let's get back to the business of exploring. Let's refine our humanity and share the best of it with the galaxy.
Yeah, it just doesn't take the idea that they did something desperate.
Yeah.
And the reconciliation of that. Like, you get a little bit of it with Archer, but the problem is he's always here. So like there's never a moment where you feel like the rest of the show. He's always still here. Like he's still kind of a humorless dick the rest of the season. And it's like, oh, because in the first season he's at least kind of fun. And then by the third season, you're like, Jesus Christ, dude, like if you're just this wound up, like let's find you another thing to do. Like this maybe isn't right for you, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a weird, it not doesn't go far enough.
Right,
it just doesn't go far
Trevor,
enough.
close us out and then we'll vote.
I'm like, wait, I have to rewrite an episode really fast.
Yeah.
At the beginning, he resigns.
Right.
Erica is offered. She meets with several admirals. They offer her command of Enterprise. She says, "I can do you something. I can do you one better than that. I'll get you Jonathan Archer back."
Yeah.
And that then becomes, because she recognizes that crew, after going through what they went through in the third season, still needs that consistency. Like it's not him because no one can do this but Jonathan Archer. It's no one else can do this because Jonathan Archer already started. Like no one can replace him because they need him. This crew connected with him. And it becomes not only it gives us something that Enterprise never really gives us, which is the idea that this crew, like so many other crews of so many other shows, kind of are a family. But in Enterprise, it never really gives us that, and that may have fixed the problem. So there, I rewrote it.
I like it. Let's see those thumbs. Episode home. It's 3 sideways or 3 ups and a sideways, so that makes it an up.
Because that's how math works.
Sure. I don't ask me to math.
I might have to because I can't. Season 4, episodes 4, 5, and 6. Borderland. When genetically engineered humans plan to create a war between Earth and the Klingons, Archer enlists their creator, Dr. Eric Sung, played by Brent Spiner, to help stop them. Cold Station 12, Dr. Eric Sung, played by Brent Spiner, sacks a scientific outpost to create an army of superhuman augments and threatens to release the deadly pathogens stored on site if anyone interferes. And part 3, the augments. The Enterprise crew pursues Dr. Eric Sung, played by Brent Spiner, and his superhuman augments across hostile Klingon space to a planet where he intends to raise his army. I don't understand what it is with the Sung family and their knack at finding uninhabited planets that no one's going to visit until a Star Trek episode.
Yeah.
Those were all 1 soon, not 3. This was the birth of the different soons look the same trope, but Enterprise did it best. I'm not gonna lie. This rearing of Brent Spiner's head was delightful. Will, what were your thoughts on this trifecta of episodes?
Yeah, it's a little group. I thought this was really interesting to see the augments again. Kind of it's a nice way to like take something we're super familiar with and kind of do something new with it. Those mullet wigs are terrible. It's like a clip-in on the back. I was like, Mama, not every one of them needed a mullet. Like we could have done anything else, but it was like a bang clip-in they stuck on the back of their hair. Like you can see the track, like you can see it. I'm like, baby girl, like the fuck is this?
That. Like, oh, y'all think you're better than us? Have you seen your hair?
It's like, girl, you have a fucking mullet? Like, Jesus. Yeah, it's as a group of episodes, I think it's really interesting. I don't particularly like the Klingon stuff that comes later. After this, I have issue with it. But I do, as like a group, I think it's really interesting. I think Brent Spiner is clearly having fun. It's a nice little round episode, and like kind of tying in. I kind of wish it tied in more to like this, like the xenophobia, this like humanoid Homo sapien like superiority thing that's coming through, and maybe tied a little more into that. Like it would be very interesting to see how that would play into this. It does seem a little like they're planting the seed for something later on we see later, but like it would have been nice to see that kind of stir some of these things. But as I think as a group of episodes, I think are pretty solid. Like they're interesting at least. Again, the lighting is just terrible, but like, yeah, it's fine. I will say I'll get over it, but I won't. So.
And the third one, directed by LeVar Burton. So LeVar and Brent got to play together again, which is lovely.
Oh, yes, the mullets were bad, but I'm just gonna say it. And if you need to push the button, push the button. But like, literally every augment can get it. Like,
yes.
Problematic day alert.
Yeah.
And then it just sets the stage for my lust over Ricardo Montalban. Like it is what it is. Like I'm not gonna deny it.
If anyone ever watched the old, like on Sci-Fi Channel, like the old Dune trilogies, the series they did, like they had a bunch of like made for TV movies and like miniseries. The guy who plays the lead augment played Paul Atreides in that, and it was kind of funny because I'd watched that. I was like obsessed with those as a kid, and then watched this, and I was like, oh, Paul Atreides, he's not Galib, and then I was like, oh, but he's a bad guy. Well, Paul's a bad guy, but it's not a Dune podcast, so
spoiler alert.
What?
Spoiler alert! Yeah, get ready.
For those who haven't seen the 1986 movie, or the more recent films that are probably more well known.
The mini series on the Sci-Fi Channel fucking slap. Alice Krieg is in them. Yeah. They're crazy, and they lean into the weirdness. The budget is literally a shiny buffalo nickel, but they're fun.
Yes,
and they're trash. But he plays Paul Atreides, and he's not half bad in it. But
yeah, well, that's interesting.
These episodes were fun. Getting Brent Spiner back, super fun. This was before they really overdid it with different soon options, but cool tie-in to a previously explored. This is something that like Enterprise has misused things we've already seen before, and this was a beautiful example of, oh, we know of something around augments, but here's a really cool original story in this series. So that was fun. I thought it was a little weird that they left all the black augments on the ship. Separating them by skin color seemed like a choice, but maybe they were just the better Klingon ship flyers. I don't know. I noticed it. It was noticeable. Meeting Dr. Lucas was lovely. I forget that actor's name. He's been in like everything, but delightful. And so it was cool to put a face to the voice from the Doctor's previous 2 letters that we got to read. And yeah, super fun. Trevor?
Yeah, other than lusting after augments, it was a great first 3-parter, though not the first 3-parter in Trek. That honor goes to Deep Space Nine,
which was excellent.
And probably better executed. But I still enjoyed. I think the thing that I like the most about these 3 episodes is that all 3 are. I mean, obviously, if a different director directs 3 episodes, it's going to feel different. But the story to each is different, yet they're all properly woven together. So it's a nice. This word has a negative connotation. I don't mean it that way. It's a nice cluster of episodes.
All right, let's see those thumbs for Borderlands, Cold Station 12, and the Augments. It's 3 thumbs up and a sideways, so we'll give it an up. Oh, we also saw Orion's. That was fun.
I love how that got worked in. Also, Orion. Oh. Alrighty then. Season 4, episodes 7, 8, and 9 The Forge, Awakening, and Kirshara. The Forge, Earth's embassy on Vulcan, is bombed, and the ensuing investigation puts Archer and T'Pol on the trail of a Vulcan religious faction hiding in a treacherous desert. I object to Google's description of the desert. The desert did nothing wrong. Episode 8, Awakening. Archer holds the key to helping T'Pol's mother, who has joined a revolutionary group being targeted by the Vulcan High Commander, was it Velas? Velas, for destruction. Episode 9, Kirshara. Archer and T'Pol discover that the Sirenites were not responsible for the bombing. Their investigation unearths an I just lost. Sorry. I'm having some internet issues and I lost the description.
Hold music. Holding until we get the.
I don't have it.
And it's coming. Is it coming, or should we
No,
just
it's not
move
coming.
forward? All right, let's talk about these episodes. I fucking love these 3 episodes. Again, Joanna Cassidy is back. My only problem with these episodes is that she dies, but what a way to go. Layers on layers. Getting who's his face back, who played Admiral Layton. When that bitch shows up, you know shit's about to get real paranoid, and it's fucking great. Him as the Vulcan administrator was super fun. Seeing T'Pau, a young T'Pau before she bitch slaps Spock in the motion picture, was super fun. And like the whole reset of Vulcan culture is really cool, because we've talked about this before. One of the things that Enterprise does really well is shows us that Vulcans are more complicated than we've seen before, and we know that there's 100 years from now until Spock, from now hundreds of years from now until Tuvok and other Vulcans that we've seen in other shows. So like how they got there is an interesting place to explore in this prequel, using their whole fucking premise really well. And so I loved it. I loved the Sirenites, like actually having different layers to Vulcan culture. To Paul's husband being a thing, getting wrapped up after a very short marriage was interesting. To Paul's internal struggle this entire season is really interesting, and Jolene plays it beautifully. And so these 3 episodes, we get some really cool stuff. And like Archer being important for a real reason that we see, he was there. Like he just happened to be there, and like, yeah, put this Katra needs to go somewhere, put it in that asshole. Like we finally have a reason for him to be important. He was there. These episodes slap. I love them. Ken, your thoughts on the Vulcan?
Well, so it was interesting to see. Too loud?
A little bit. I don't. It just that you can do nothing but speak. Don't move your hands. Don't breathe. Anything you touch.
Too loud.
We hear a scream into your microphone.
Wow. How about now? Better?
That's great.
Okay. T'Pau, seeing her in a mock time, and then going back to seeing her in this, in these, giving her a good backstory, sort of ties into Kirk's she's all a Vulcan in one package. I mean, they basically took that line from a mock time, and these 3 episodes sort of carries that whole thing through. So I think that was cool. It was interesting to give the Vulcans some more backstory, as it was said, as Chris said in the chat, you saw a Salot that was not so fluffy as we saw in yesteryear. And it was good. I mean, it was good to sort of start to clarify a little bit as to why the Vulcans in Enterprise were such assholes. And as you alluded to, Stanley, sort of bridging that divide a bit into the Vulcans that we know as we move into Sarek's time and Spock's time. So, and Amok time for that matter. So there you go.
Trevor, your thoughts on this batch?
My only criticism of this batch is that I think it probably should have been 2 episodes instead of 3. As a 3-parter, this one just sort of kept going, in my opinion, and didn't necessarily need to. I feel it could have been a tighter story in 2 episodes. And then just sort of a highlight for me was seeing Joanna Cassidy and Robert, is it Fox? I can never remember his last name. Is it Foxworthy? The guy that played
Foxworthy.
Is it Foxworthy? The guy that played Admiral Layton and now is playing the Vulcan. They were a married couple. Joanna and Robert were a married couple in 6 Feet Under. So for the entire run of the show. So it was really, really cute to like see them both in the same episode, even though I don't think they shared a single scene. It was really neat to see them together. But anywho, I enjoy the story. Enterprise for me never fulfills what I want to fulfill in terms of like Vulcan backstory. There's stuff I want to know and stuff I want to explore that I feel like the movies have done a much better job of making Vulcan feel alien. You know, when we go inside the High Command or inside any Vulcan building, with the exception of Teles's home earlier, it always just feels like a soundstage in a Hollywood production instead of something so otherworldly like we got to see in the motion picture when we actually visit Vulcan. And even though there's a lot of those matte paintings are doing a lot of work in that movie, it feels so alien, and it's kind of delightful in that way. And this feels just smaller scale and a little like we're just running through a Planet Hell set for most of it.
And getting struck by lightning if we have metal.
Indeed. Which just seems like poor planning from a I live on this planet and would know these things kind of perspective.
Right.
It's like, yeah, anyway, I'm not going to go on the tangent that it's like, but yes, it's just a little strange. Anywho, I enjoy the episodes. I just feel it could have been a tighter story. So that's my really only criticism. That and I wanted more than they gave us, but I still enjoy and appreciate the fact that we're getting lots and lots of Vulcan, which I wish we had gotten before. We only ever got it from the perspective of T'Pol, who was intentionally placing herself as a fish out of water by joining the Enterprise. So it would have been neat to see them a little bit more in depth. But anywho.
Yeah. I forgot to mention the getting some interesting development with Saval and Shran. Not as much development with Shran, but his part in this batch of episodes was really interesting, with Saval expanding who and what he is, and that he can meld and all that fun stuff. Will, your thoughts on this batch?
Yeah, I think I'm echoing beating a dead horse here, but I think it is a really good, really well-written episodes. I think they're directed pretty well for the most part. And I think that the acting is much better and the characterization is much better, specifically with T'Pol, and I think with Archer, like kind of idea that he leads the Vulcans back to logic and all this is very interesting, in his kind of the moment he has, him going off the handle in the first batch of episodes makes for good development now where he's trying to help them. So like that a lot. And I like the inclusion of the Romulans, because I think that well, we know that they have to show up at some point because of the Romulan War and everything, but I think that peppering that in, I think it leads a lot to like what we see in Unification, what we see in Discovery, all of this stuff, that they have been connected, that they're not, really, like, if we're being honest, and I'm sorry, Ken, but in the original series, they were literally like, oh, let's just put some we have some extra ears, let's just put some ears on someone, and then make them, throw one line in. It doesn't, budget-wise, they probably couldn't have done like a lot of makeup and stuff for the Romulans, and they just kind of recycled some ears. So interesting, but like I seeing this, how they've always kind of kept in touch with each other, and there's this, the Romulans interfering with things, I think is very interesting
and very Romulan.
and very Romulan. And it's nice. It's a good batch of episodes, and I think it does round out a few things character-wise that we can finally let go of, so we can do some different shit. So I think it does what it needs to do, but it does it in at least in an interesting way.
So I'd be remiss if I didn't completely disagree with you, Will. But okay.
I know you were, Ken, but I'm just saying they had cardboard sets and they had about $5 to do an episode. So, and you know, two of those $5 are going to Shatner's girdle. So, I mean, what are we gonna do? Slap the borrow the other set of Nimoy's ears and slap them on, you know.
A big part of Balance of Terror's storyline was all about them being an offshoot of the Vulcans and how to deal with them. It wasn't just they had extra ears, but okay.
Whatever. But I'm just saying.
I will also add that they had in these episodes and in this season, they do an excellent job. And, you know, other shows in the franchise could have done this better from all eras. They did an excellent job in this season of foreshadowing. You know, we didn't get to Les just in this episode for her to die. We were introduced to her several episodes before, and there's some development with her. And it's done really well. And like we were just talking about, seeing a Romulan interact with Veloz at the end of this episode really sets up some of the episodes we'll be talking about next week. Really, really, really doing well this season with the foreshadowing. So let's vote on this batch of episodes: The Forge, Awakening, and Kirshara. 3 thumbs up and a sideways. So we'll give it an up.
Trevor's going hard on this season.
Trevor, do you have your synopses available, or are we still having internet issues?
I don't have it available immediately, but I will have it available in 1 second. So talk about something else.
Everybody look at your screen and remember.
Just kidding, I'm back.
Oh, God damn it.
It's appropriate that I had a technical issue right before the episode Daedalus. Season 4, episode 10, Daedalus. The inventor of the transporter system claims he has found a new way to transport people over far greater distances, possibly even making starships obsolete. The Enterprise travels to a remote part of a star system to test the new system when things start to go wrong.
Dun, dun, dun.
I added a little emphasis on that last part. Some editorial license on my part.
Daedalus. Ken, your thoughts on this episode?
So it's interesting that they have really sort of kept the transporter as this sort of emergency technology through all of Enterprise, right? Whereas it's incredibly common through basically the rest of the franchise. And I think that until this season, right? And I think that this is an interesting way to do it. It's an interesting way to talk about disability. It's an interesting way to talk about technology and how technology and disability potentially can help or can hinder. And, you know, it really diving into what is good and what is not good about this technology, which is, you know, at the core of all aspects of Star Trek. And probably the one piece of technology sent from the original series, one of the only pieces of technology that they used every week that isn't replicated, like a cell phone or a mobile computer.
Mm-hmm. I did love that they had, I forgot about this until my rewatch this past week. They have that discussion about, and that nonsense about it cloning you and killing you or whatever. And like, well, yeah, because the way that the transporter has been described, it does clone and kill you. You're like,
yeah,
that's the way that the science works. But having that line in canon, it like, they still need to retcon the technobabble around it in my nerdiest of opinions, but having that in there I thought was a fun little gag. And overall, I thought the episode was really fun and interesting. Again, we're getting some character development for Archer through learning about some of his past friendships and relationships. Like, he knew these people. She was a good friend of his. And, you know, we get an interesting story from the development of the transporter. I did think one thing that could have been interesting was like acknowledging we haven't been using the transporter except in emergencies up until recently because of upgrades that Emery had sent, and now we're excited to do this test because it has become safer. We have been using it more. They just sort of started using it more without really talking about it too much. Trevor or Will, any thoughts on this episode?
So this goes into an episode. So just like the 3-parter that I feel like should have been a 2-parter, this is an episode that should have been an A plot. Like, there was really no B plot, and it needed more. There was something missing from this episode, and it wasn't the guy's dead son. There was something genuinely missing from this episode. Also, speaking of the dead son, when they start to like reconstruct him, but then it's not working, like, that's maybe just have it never work. It was a little too dark even for my cold dead heart. Like, I was like, whoa, what are we doing right now? Like this, and then we're gonna make him watch. We're like, no, sit here and watch it fail so that you get to see his pattern just complete. Like, what? Like, why? I thought we left the brutality behind in season 3, but instead we decided to emotionally torture someone, and it just didn't feel right. Also, it was a little boring.
Yeah, I'm gonna echo Trevor here. It does seem like it needed a B plot. Like, I needed a B plot to kind of round this out a little bit. We didn't get much of that. And yeah, I think some of the ideas are interesting. Again, doesn't go far enough, but it's really just a filler episode to kind of buffer between these different kind of group storylines we're getting. But it's not offensive, but it's also like, meh. It was interesting, but I don't think it does. Again, it could have been weirder. It could have been a weirder episode with the transporter, because it's a weird piece of technology that we don't ever really. It doesn't get discussed what it does, but we have a lot of episodes where it fucks up and does weird shit. You know, but people
Bring
keep
it
using
back
it.
as goo.
Well, I think that's the part that bothers me, is that it only could have been a worse episode if it had worked.
Yeah.
Like, suddenly after all these years of being a pattern scrambled, you're reconstituted. Like, what? Like, what does that even mean? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they did kind of do that with Scotty, right? A little bit.
Ish.
No.
But like, at least we knew
Yeah.
where he was. Like, he was in a jar. We knew where he was.
Yeah,
Like,
he was in a pattern buffer. He wasn't just a pattern
Right.
floating out in space.
Right.
I
Right.
think what would have been interesting is if it was successful early, and then like he's fucked up. And like,
Yeah, what does that mean? You were in stasis forever and then reconstituted. Are you even who you are? Are you even who you were when you were gone? Like, what does that mean? You know? Does time continue if you're stuck? Clearly, time doesn't continue if you're stuck in a pattern buffer. What happens? You come back and your dad's 20 years older, and you're like, oh shit, what does that mean? You know?
and then he turns into goo.
And
Goo.
we find out that his
Go.
name is Buck Rogers.
Yes. But goo.
500 years later.
All right.
Exactly.
Thumbs for this episode. 2 down and 2 sideways. So we need somebody in the chat to give us your thumbs.
Tiebreaker.
Either a thumbs down or a sideways. You don't get to
Who do you
up
like
this.
more? Who do you like more, me and Will, or Stan?
It's a sideways. Ha!
You know what, Joel? You were gonna get bonus points. Now I'm taking them away.
Joel.
All right. I'm just kidding, Joel. I'll buy you a drink in Vegas. Season 4, episode 11, Observer Effect. After Hoshi and Trip contract a deadly virus, 2 aliens possess the bodies of other crew members to observe humanity's reaction to tragedy.
Remember Hoshi and Travis?
Who?
They're in the show too, remember?
Oh yeah.
We haven't seen them for 11 episodes, but here they are.
And also Malcolm, I guess, but he got a bunch last season.
Yeah.
Organians observing a
Organians.
twist on something we've kind of already seen before, but at least interesting. Some captainy not really a speech, but convincing aliens. You should help us so that you can observe our empathy and what we will do if we don't all die from this emergency. Commentary on how humans are better than Cardassians, which, interesting. Not really seeing a lot of examples of that in 2025 in our leadership.
It's kind of a low bar.
Yes.
It's kind of a low bar.
Yes. Some playful xenophobia with the Organians. It's kind of fun. And I will say, good performances from cast members we don't see a lot of. Particularly Linda Park. I thought she had an excellent performance in this episode. She was a dead Hoshi being an Organian. Her delirium scene was super fun. Seeing that even in that state, she's brilliant enough to break out of decon was really cool. Getting more of her backstory. I think it's a little interesting that she's a black belt in something that she mentions, and yet that's an interesting thing to give her backstory in season 4 when we've had 3 seasons where that could have been very valuable.
You mean like the one where she was kidnapped 5-6 episodes ago?
Also that,
Yeah.
But hearing that she got kicked out of Academy housing, really fun. And she was only let back in because she's so fucking good at her job and Starfleet needed linguists. Kind of cool.
I always debated with myself as to whether or not this episode sort of undoes a bit of Errand of Mercy. And so I'm still not sure if that's the case. Part of me says it does, part of me says it doesn't. But so I think I love the backstories as you're describing, Stan. I think that it's a good opportunity to really dive into some of our characters and show the actors, give the actors an opportunity to play different. So I love all of that. I just am wondering if it's an Errand of Mercy. I don't know why it's an errand of bullshit, but if an Errand of Mercy is a bit undone by this, but that's just the TOSer in me. Because I think in Errand of Mercy, they make a point of saying that the Organians are very, very closeted, that they just are very, they don't really engage with anybody. They're very sort of introverted as a species. But again, I'm not entirely sure if that's the case. But I've thought about that a lot. Not a lot.
There's a couple that wandered off to do their own thing.
Yeah.
They went hiking.
Yeah, exactly. Could be. Who knows? Could be. Who knows?
It's Ken the Musical, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, Stan's muted. Quick, chaos ensues.
You know what's funny?
But I can hear him.
Will can hear me, so Will answer my damn question.
Yeah.
Nobody else heard.
Yeah, I'll forego all the horrible things you said about Trev and Ken while muted. It's fine. I didn't. It's a fun little character moment. I don't think it really adds anything or takes anything away. The first contact with the Organians, I think, is fine, but like, meh. It was just it's a nice little buffer in between stuff, and it's kind of a quirky little episode, but like, again, not one that I was like revisiting. Like, I think this was the first time I watched it, and I was like, the fuck, when did this happen? Like, I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, I must have missed that week or something. I was like, what the fuck is this episode? But yeah, it's fine, middle of the road. I think it's not offensive, and it does some cool stuff, so it's like fine. But you can tell that they're trying, like, this is like Enterprise moving in the right direction. You can really tell from the writing and the people who were involved that this was like them getting on, not back on track, because I don't think the show ever was on track, but I think having found one finally, maybe. I think that's part of the thing. But yeah, again, just, it was cute. I'm fine with it.
All right. Let's see those cute little thumbs then. 3 sideways and an up, so it's gonna get a sideways.
So fuck you, Stan.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And that brings us to the end of our Thumb Wars this evening. We'll definitely, of course, be back next week with the rest of the season. But before we log off, let's hear from Trevor the tallies for the evening.
I'm being inappropriate. For this half of the season, we gave, and granted some of these episodes get bundled together, but we gave 7 thumbs ups, 2 thumbs sideways, and 2 thumbs downs. So overall, we're off to a very positive start. We'll see what happens next week in the second half of season 4. There was 1 problematic gay alert. Good job, Trevor. 1 Ken, well, actually, there were 7 tosser alerts. Welcome back, Ken. And we fucked Rick Berman once. I gave 1,981 bonus points to Will for reminding Strange New Worlds that it's not Beyonce. I gave 1,987 bonus points to Ken for spotting so many assholes. 250 points to Aaron in the comments for properly reading the Sungapalooza that just needs to stop. 5,000 bonus points to Chris Garris in the comments for highlighting what season 5 could have been. And last but not least, 5 whole bonus points for Stan for, after all these years, never telling mom that the babysitter was actually dead.
Yeah.
I'm right on top of that, Trevor. Y'all, thank you so much for joining us. Be sure to like and subscribe. We will be back next week to finish out our Thumb Wars for Star Trek Enterprise with the second half of season 4. We will also be recording, not this weekend, but next weekend, bonus content. We'll be talking about Ken's Comfort episode. Tomorrow is yesterday.
Time travel shenanigans.
I got the title of the episode right.
That's right.
So be watching out for that. If you are a Patreon supporter, thank you very much. That bonus commentary will be coming your way in just over a week and a half before the end of the month. And again, like and subscribe us anywhere and everywhere that you love podcasts. Leave a review, drop a comment. Thank you very much. And until next week, please do live long and prosper.
All hands abandon ship. Proceed to the nearest evacuation zone immediately.